Hello, I'm Keith Nevison, Manager of Farm and Nursery Operations at Thomas Jefferson's Monticello. I'm so excited to have joined the team at Virginia Homegrown for our 20th season. This month, we're again conducting interviews remotely, and we're being joined today by Jim Hurley of Blue Ridge PRISM, which stands for Partnership for Regional Invasive Species Management. Jim, can you tell me a little bit about the history and activities of your organization?
Thanks, Keith, and absolutely very happy to be here to talk about an issue that is so important to all of us in the native plant, invasive plant world. The Partnership for Regional Invasive Species Management was founded in 2014 by Rod and Maggie Walker in conversation with Jake Hughes of Shenandoah National Park, and they decided together they wanted to make a regional difference on invasive species. Our mission is to reduce the impact of invasive species in our 10-county area along the Blue Ridge, 5 on the west side of the ridge from Augusta County up to Clark, and 5 counties on the east side of the ridge from Nelson up to Rappahannock. So we're trying to get resources and education, funding for landowners in order to support them in their intention to take out these bad plants on their properties.
Well, that's excellent, Jim. I'm glad that you guys cover such a range of habitats on both sides of the Blue Ridge. It's now spring, and with so many plants having emerged here in Virginia, can you tell me a little bit about some of the species that you primarily focus on?
Absolutely. I've got here to begin with Japanese honeysuckle, one of our terrible 12 species that we've focused on in the Blue Ridge Prism. This is a vine, and this is an example of its leafing, which is opposite, coming out of opposite sides of the stem. And this is a relatively small stem, but it's coming off of this
That's a
beast of a
monster.
stem,
Wow.
which is climbing up about 30 or 40 feet up a tree on our property, and I cut it this morning. So this is a plant that can bring down trees and smother trees, and it can be quite a problem to kill. There are a couple of different ways to do it. You can pull it up off of the forest floor on a wet day or a moist day. Great to do that during winter if you don't want to use herbicide. And if you're comfortable using herbicide, you can cut the stem and put a dab of concentrated herbicide on the cut stump, or you can deploy a backpack sprayer and spray it, spray the leaves as well with a reduced concentration herbicide.
What are some other plants that we should be looking out for?
So next on our list is garlic mustard, which is out there right now, flowering and getting ready to release its seed to torture us into coming seasons. And you can see these little silique or seed pods underneath the white flower. If you go out into natural areas around our region, you're going to find this plant all over the place. So do your best to pull it or spray it. You want to do it now because it is about ready to spray out fully developed seed onto the landscape. Multiflora rose is another. This plant here is a shrub, but it can climb like a vine. And this stem will go up 25 or 30 feet, and it's got very dangerous recurved thorns, and it leaves out early in the spring in a March or so time frame, and it could be controlled by cutting it at the base and again giving a shot of concentrated herbicide. Small plants can be simply pulled out of the ground, but they need to be pretty small because they have a pretty resistant root system.
Jim, do invasive plants leaf out a little earlier? And if so, what's the best time to really be focused on controlling?
Some plant species do leaf out earlier. Japanese honeysuckle and multiflora rose would be examples of two that do. And so they're easy to identify because they stand out in the early spring. Other things are not green yet, and so you can find them in your natural areas more quickly, hunt them down, and put them to rest. Some of these species also extend deeper into the fall, and so this characteristic gives them an advantage over our natives. It helps them to grow more vigorously.
Do you have any other goodies for us?
Well, they're not exactly goodies, but I've got an ailanthus for you right here, also known as tree of heaven. And this this thing is leafing out right now, and you can just see the beginnings of these compound leaves. Uh, and I'll show you one of these compound leaves, and it's got a notch in it that is diagnostic of this particular tree. So you can distinguish it from sumac or from walnut, two valuable native plants that you don't want to kill. This species is the primary host plant of spotted lanternfly,
Oh boy.
which many of us are hearing about in the news these days, which is a big threat to Virginia's, as well as Maryland and Pennsylvania, the entire mid-Atlantic, our fruit industry and our grape industry. And so if you want to help grape growers and winemakers, control Ailanthus on your property. Here's English ivy. It's fine to use this as a ground cover plant in a suburban yard situation. What we need to do is keep it under control on the ground and not allow it to climb. It'll take down trees. Certainly, we have seen silhouettes of trees in the winter. We call these things broccoli trees that are infested with a full shroud of English ivy going all the way out to the branch tips of a tree. So do your best, if you have to have English ivy on the ground as a ground cover, to keep it under control.
It seems really like a key takeaway, just to pay attention to the plants in your landscape and to appreciate the things that are around you and start to tackle some of the invasives and start to have more of an appreciation for your native plants and your healthy habitats.
Absolutely. And I've got one more plant for you here too. This is Bradford pear. This is a tree, again, and it'll grow up to 40 or 50 feet high. It was developed as a street or a landscaping tree to be sterile back in the 1960s, but it turned out that horticulturists created a monster. Hardly sterile, it's highly prolific, and it's out there on the landscape. This tree will develop into a monoculture, and it really needs to be controlled because it is crowding out native plants and nothing else eats it. So it's contributing nothing to our ecosystem.
After you take the time to remove and control these exotic and invasive species, what actions do you suggest taking, either replanting or monitoring?
What we encourage landowners to do once you've pulled or sprayed or controlled your invasive species infestation is to wait and see what happens. There are lots of invasive species that have deep seed banks that last for years. So you need to be really confident that you've got most of that invasive species infestation controlled to give your new plantings the best chance of success.
What resources do you recommend for seeking out native plants? Do you have guides, for instance, that you recommend?
Uh, we've got recommendations on our website for native plants to plant, but also there are a full range of resources that have been developed over the last 15 or 20 years that help landowners select good plants uh, for their sites. And those would include regional native plant guides that are being produced for 6 or 7 different regions all the way around the state of Virginia, as well as the Department of Conservation and Recreation's natural plant communities or native plant communities information. There's also the Virginia Digital Atlas, which tells you what native plants are native to your particular county, and also the habitat conditions where they're going to thrive in. So consult those resources and others, and they'll help you with your plant selection.
That's great, useful information. Thanks, Jim. With the scope of invasives so big and spreading here in Virginia and also across the nation, how can people learn more about the topic and how can they begin to get involved in there and feel a sense of accomplishment in tackling their yards and landscapes?
Well, it does seem to be a daunting problem, uh, and landowners need support in tackling it. And so that is our primary purpose in life, the Blue Ridge Prism, is to provide support to homeowners, landowners who want to do the work on their properties. We do a round of workshops and March and in June and in October, focused on plants that are prominent and vulnerable to be controlled during those seasons. So we invite you to attend those workshops now in these days of COVID-19, where we can't deliver these workshops in person. We're going to be delivering them on webinars. And there are also fact sheets that can be downloaded for more specific and particular ID characters, how to ID the plants, make sure you're killing, for example, multiflora rose and not one of our native rose species, such as Carolina rose. That's important to keep in mind.
Well, excellent. Thank you so much, Jim, for taking time to educate all of us on this very important topic of invasive species management. And thank you for all the work that you do to support healthy native habitats here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I wish you great health and much success in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Keith, and very glad to be with you.